The more time I work on sort of building my own practice as a filmmaker, the more I start to realize and understand filmmaking is just another form of community organizing. And that's actually been really liberating for me because it creates so many more possibilities for what I see as the power and impact of making a film. I had been living in New York for four years or so, and I was out to everyone in my life, including my older sister, except my parents. My parents are Korean immigrants. I would talk to my sister about like what would happen if I did come out, like how our mom would react, how my dad would react, and I don't know. It was just one of those things that it was easy for me to keep pushing off because I lived in New York and they live in Chicago.
MND. It's been a while since freshman year of high school. A lot has happened, huh?
Dear Mom, I wanted to write you a letter because I have so many things to tell you, but my Korean isn't good enough to communicate them fully over the phone or on Kakao Talk.
Hi, Mom. For a long time, I guess I couldn't even fathom telling you about my partner or my queerness.
But I don't want to lie to you anymore. So after 10 plus years, I want to do completely what I could not fully do back then.
Unspoken is a short documentary that follows 6 queer and trans Asian Americans, and it follows them as they're sort of thinking about their own queerness and considering what family acceptance in their migrant families could look like.
I'm writing to both of you, my aunt and uncle, to share more about recent changes I've been going through. What I have not spoken about explicitly is that I am transgender. Being transgender for me simply means I was born in a female body, but my energy is more masculine than feminine.
So when I started thinking about the idea for this film, I was actually a part of Third World Newsreel's production workshop, and while I was doing that, it was the same time that I had just come out to my parents. And so I was thinking about just coming out stuff personally, and then I was in this program where it's sort of around like empowering people of color to tell their stories through filmmaking. And so it just seemed like a natural fit to try to funnel like what I was dealing with personally into a story that I hope can be a resource for like queer and trans Asian Americans.
It hurt me when you asked if my transness was born out of raising me on your own. I reflexively said no because I didn't want you to blame yourself.
You were at first of the disposition that being LGBT is a lifestyle choice and a phase, but you quickly figured out it's not going away. And more importantly, that I'm still that silly, goofy child of yours.
So last year in 2018, I worked with a collaborator on a series called Searching for Queer Asian Pacific America. And it's like a 5-part mini docu-series. And we basically travel across the US just searching for sort of proof or evidence of like queer and trans Asian Pacific American history. And so we talked to a lot of academics, to a lot of our community elders, like to young people in the community who are searching for this history. And it's like a fun sort of playful way into like what queer and trans Asian Pacific American history can be.
I remember walking through this itsy bitsy Chinatown in DC and just feeling so proud, it's like, wow, how cool. So they know that there are gay Asians too. It's not just a white thing. It's not just those other people. We are here,
One thing that I learned in making this series was that queer and trans Asian Pacific Americans have been around for a long time. Like since the first Asian folks came to the US, like we have been doing the work, we have been a part of these communities. And I think as a millennial queer Asian American, it was really helpful to see that and to talk to some of my elders because I had always just assumed that I was the beginning of the line, right? Or that this was like a new thing, or like this was a 21st century thing, and that we're like, trailblazing new ground. When in reality, like our elders have been doing this work since the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and even before then. And so I think it was just empowering for me to see that and then to sort of better understand like what the future could be.
We don't live in a society where people's stories matter. People's personal stories matter. So, I left out a whole part. I'm thinking here, what did I not talk about here that maybe would be important for people to know? For myself, I live as a victim as being Asian, being gay, living with AIDS, not necessarily fitting the beauty standard and all those other things. But where I have power is where I'm male, where I'm cisgender, meaning that I don't have to worry about my gender and my sex matching, where I'm educated, or where I am probably more than upper class now. And so there are a lot of ways that we who have privilege and are also victimized can flip the coin and do our work in more substantive ways.